So what we've known for a long time is our beloved 7, and in many congregations now 8 principles. Those will continue on in our inherited tradition, no matter what we decide at General Assembly this June. But after long work and many tens of thousands of points of input from Unitarian Universalists across the faith, we've proposed new language to describe our shared values in the bylaws that govern our tradition. I think it matters that we're actually willing to write our values down. And what matters most about that, and what I want to talk to you about this morning, is that we have finally put in writing, we've claimed together, or we're seeking to, that the value most UUs describe as central to their faith, to their living, to the mission of our congregations is love itself. Love. Now, I know some of us are asking how we can possibly put love at the center without defining exactly what it means. I suspect this is why we can all put it at the center, right? Others have asked me how it's always me, I personally can possibly claim that love is connected to liberation. How can an emotion set anyone free? Amen. Nothing else can. When I talk about a love that frees, or love as a part of liberation theology, I mean that choosing to live one's life guided by love asks what that asks of us cannot help but drive us to work together in community until everyone is free. Putting love at the center means you can't help but do that, or long to do that, or dream of that, or worry about not doing that. Right? Liberation theology comes from 2 main sources. We forget this sometimes, both Latin American liberation theologies and Black liberation theologies. What's important is that both of them call us to undo the legacies of injustice and claim that all that we hold together as most holy is centered on those who live with oppression and who struggle for the freedom of all. Latin American liberation theologies talk about this as a preferential option, right? Most traditionally for the poor, but also more recently for a broader range of communities, of identities, and even for the earth itself. We are always challenging systems of injustice in liberation theologies. So the preferential option teaches that God himself, that the work of the church writ large, that our values and our wisdom are centered, therefore, on those most impacted by systemic oppression. So traditionally, we might say that if you want to know God, you have to live in solidarity with those facing the injustices of poverty and class oppression. UUs might say that we are most able to co-create the all-embracing love that our tradition teaches us when we center those most impacted by long-established systems of injustice, right? We save one another. We remake the sacredness of the world through prioritizing what's actually needed for that remaking. Anything less drives us away from our values, from faithful living. Liberation theologies hold us accountable, therefore, to finding another way. So when I hold that and the knowledge that time and again UUs place love at the center of our understanding of the greatest questions of life, I feel moved to rewrite the language of liberation again. Of course I do, I'm a UU, right? I want to rewrite the language of liberation today. So what I will say today is this: there is a love that sets us free, period. Not free as in having the power to do whatever we want, but free as in not weighed down or bound by the patterns of hatred and control that get passed from generation to generation. Right? Free as in restless, called to solidarity wherever we witness injustice. Free as in knowing without a doubt that we are worthy and that it is ours to invite others into the same wisdom for themselves. Free to imagine a world where children are never in harm's way, where the violence and desperation of generations has served instead as a site of sacred repair, interrupting the cycles of war and dehumanization, free to express our highest values and what we believe in as many poetic forms as there are people in the room. Free enough to build communities that love us so deeply that we are held when we falter and invited back into sacred covenant when we fail. Can you imagine with me a love that is bigger than any you have already known, that surpasses the confines of a simple definition, that will live into its own fullness long after we are gone? The love that lives at the center of this faith is very simply the love that will not let us go. No matter how cranky we are, how ornery on that day, how full of grief or full of ourselves or full of joy, a love that will not let us go, as the Reverend Barbara Hamilton Holway teaches us. It's a love that expects nothing less of us than the rebuilding of a struggling world. Sometimes what we know of love and justice pushes us in ways we never expected, and sometimes the need to bear such a love into the world is heartbreakingly large. It's in those moments that we most need one another and most need beloved community. We need reminding and solidarity. We need connection and care, and our freely made choice to participate in this greater community can slowly renew us. It can even repair the kinds of grief that have been building for so many of us, to restore what we long to hold at our own centers and to heal that which keeps us from being more loving. And so we side with love. We organize in the name of love. We educate about the importance of love. We donate to further love. And most of all, we share that love together.